Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome back to Travel Vibes, your go-to source for all things travel-related. We've all been there. Your flight is booked, you've packed your bags, and the excitement is building up as you make your way to the airport. You breeze through security, heading toward the gate with your destination on the horizon. But just as you're about to board, disaster strikes. Your name is called, not for boarding, but to be pulled aside, told that you can't get on the flight. It's a nightmare scenario that's becoming more and more common in 2025, even for experienced flyers. If you've ever wondered why this happens and how to avoid it, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into 15 real reasons why travelers are being denied boarding at airports, and we'll give you practical tips on how to avoid each one. So, if you want to make sure your travel plans go off without a hitch, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an essential tip. Ready to make sure your trip goes smoothly? Let's get into it. Reason number 1, passport damage. Even small tears can cost you your flight. Now let's dive right into reason number 1, passport damage, and trust me, this one's a biggie. Imagine this. You've just checked in, your bags are gone, you've breezed through security, and you're standing at the gate only minutes away from your dream getaway. But then, out of nowhere, a gate agent pulls you aside and tells you that you can't board. The reason? Your passport. You weren't expecting it, right? It's not expired. But a tiny tear, a water stain, or even a small dent on the cover might just cost you your flight. Here's the deal. More and more countries, especially in 2025, are rejecting passports that have visible damage, no matter how minor it seems. The airlines are getting stricter too, because if you board with a damaged passport and immigration refuses you, the airline is on the hook to fly you back at their own cost. That's why they're choosing to stop you before you even get on the plane. So, what's the best way to avoid this? Check your passport long before your flight. Flip through every page and look for any signs of wear and tear. If you spot anything that seems off, whether it's a rip, a faded photo, or a bent page, get it replaced as soon as possible. It's a small task, but it could save you a lot of stress at the gate. Reason number 2, passport validity. Don't get caught off guard. Now moving on to reason 2, passport validity. This is a sneaky one that can trip up even the most seasoned travelers. Many of us think that as long as your passport has some validity left, you're good to go. But here's the catch. Many countries, especially for international trips, require that your passport be valid for at least 6 months after your arrival date. That's right, 6 months. This rule can really catch you off guard, especially if you're planning a long-awaited vacation. Imagine arriving at the airport, bags packed, excitement in the air, only to be told that you can't board because your passport doesn't meet the country's requirements. It doesn't matter that your passport is valid for your departure date. The clock starts ticking from the moment you arrive at your destination, not when you leave. So what's the best way to avoid this stress? Double-check your passport's expiration date well in advance of your trip. If it's within 6 months of expiration, go ahead and renew it before you book that international flight. It's a simple step that can save you a lot of trouble at the gate. Reason number 3, name mismatch. A small typo could mean big trouble. Let's move on to reason 3, name mismatch. And trust me, this is one of those issues that sounds small but can lead to big problems at the airport. Imagine this. You've carefully booked your flight, you're all set to go, and you're just about to board when suddenly the gate agent tells you there's a problem with your name. It could be something as minor as a typo, a missing middle name, or even using a nickname instead of your full name. It may seem trivial, but name discrepancies can cause a major headache, especially on international flights, where exact name matching is critical. Airlines are becoming more strict, and even the smallest mismatch could raise a red flag, meaning you could be denied boarding, no matter how much you've been looking forward to that trip. Here's your best bet to avoid this. Always book flights with the exact name that appears on your passport or ID. Double-check everything before hitting that confirm button. If you spot any errors after booking, contact the airline immediately to correct them. They'll likely make the fix for you, but only if you catch it early. Reason number 4, missing or invalid visa. Don't leave it to chance. Now, let's talk about reason number 4. Missing or invalid visa. This is definitely one that can trip up even the most careful travelers. You've checked your passport, you've packed your bags, and you're feeling pretty confident about your trip. But when you get to the gate, something you may not have thought about could become your biggest obstacle. Your visa. Visa issues are one of the most frustrating reasons for being denied boarding. Even if you've triple-checked your passport, it's easy to overlook whether you have the correct visa for your destination. Whether your visa has expired or you simply don't have the right type, it doesn't matter how far you've traveled. If your visa isn't in order, you're going to be sent back home. Here's the best way to avoid this nightmare. Research visa requirements well in advance of your trip. Don't leave it to the last minute, and apply for your visa through official channels, like the country's embassy or consulate. Don't rely on generic advice from blogs or friends. Make sure you get the facts straight from the official sources. A little extra preparation could save you from being turned away at the gate. Reason number 5. You're too sick to fly. Protect yourself and others now. Let's dive into reason 5. You're too sick to fly. This one might seem a little surprising, but it's a serious issue that can get you denied boarding. You might feel perfectly fine. Maybe you've just got a little sniffle or a scratchy throat. But if you're showing any signs of illness, especially symptoms of something contagious, you could be stopped right at the gate. Airlines have a responsibility to protect the health of all passengers on board. So if you're visibly unwell, whether it's coughing a lot, looking pale, or showing any signs of flu or cold symptoms, a gate agent or flight crew member has the authority to deny you boarding. They're especially cautious because they don't want to risk an outbreak mid-flight or have you needing medical assistance once you're airborne. To avoid this, here's what you can do. If you're feeling under the weather, wear a mask to reduce the risk of spreading germs. Stay hydrated, and do your best not to appear visibly sick. If you have a non-contagious condition that could raise concerns, like a chronic cough or skin condition, it might be helpful to carry a doctor's note explaining your condition. It might just be the thing that keeps you from being turned away at the gate. Reason number 6, intoxication. Know your limits before you board. Next up, let's talk about reason number 6, intoxication. Now this one is pretty straightforward, but it still trips up a lot of travelers. Airlines have a zero-tolerance policy for passengers who appear intoxicated or under the influence of alcohol or drugs. You might think that you're just being a little extra cheerful or ready to celebrate your vacation, but even if you're completely harmless, airlines don't take any chances. Here's why. Airlines are responsible for everyone on board, and if a passenger looks like they're intoxicated, it could lead to disruptive behavior. Whether you're slurring your words, acting erratic, or just giving off the impression that you might cause trouble, the airline won't risk it. The best way to avoid being denied boarding is simple. Avoid overindulging before your flight. It's tempting, especially if you're nervous or excited, but save the drinks for after you land. This will not only keep you in good standing with the gate agents, but it will also help you feel much better once you're on board and ready to relax. Reason number 7, you smell. Yes, it can happen to anyone now. Let's get into reason number 7, you smell. And yes, you heard me right. While it might sound a bit funny, strong or offensive body odor can actually get you denied boarding. It's not something most travelers consider, but it's a real issue that happens more than you might think. If you're traveling long distances, especially with multiple connections or a long layover, it's possible that body odor could become a problem. Airlines take the comfort of all passengers seriously, and if you smell bad enough to disrupt the experience for other travelers or the crew, the gate agents have the authority to stop you from boarding. Whether it's from long travel, sweating through connections, or simply forgetting to freshen up after a long wait, it's something that can cause unnecessary hassle. To avoid this, here's a simple tip. Travel with deodorant. Always try to freshen up after long connections. And don't forget to carry breath mints or even a change of clothes in your carry-on. A quick refresh can save you from a lot of embarrassment, and most importantly, ensure you don't get stopped at the gate. Reason number 8, missed visa on arrival requirements. It's not always as easy as it sounds. Moving on to reason number 8, Missed visa on arrival requirements. This one can really trip you up, especially if you're heading to a country where you've heard you can just get a visa on arrival. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, here's the thing. It's not always as simple as it seems. Even if a country offers a visa on arrival, they often have specific requirements that you must meet before you even board your flight. This could include things like passport photos, proof of accommodation, or proof of funds for your stay. If you don't have these documents ready, you could be denied boarding, even if the visa is technically available when you arrive at the destination. To avoid this situation, always research the fine print for visa on arrival destinations. Every country has its own set of rules, and they can change, so don't just assume everything will be straightforward. Make sure you have everything you need, whether it's a printed confirmation of your hotel booking, enough cash to show for your stay, or any additional forms that the country might require. Reason number 9. Social media posts. What you share online could cost you your flight. Let's get into reason number 9. Social media posts, and this one might surprise you. Did you know that what you post online could actually affect your travel plans? Yes, it's true. In today's world, airlines and border agents are sometimes checking your social media before you even board. If they come across something concerning in your posts, like a joke about skipping customs, making controversial comments, or anything that raises a red flag, they have the authority to deny you boarding. It might sound crazy, but it happens more than you think. A harmless meme from years ago, or a sarcastic comment about airport security, could come back to haunt you. Border agents and airlines are becoming increasingly cautious, and they're looking for anything that might indicate you're a risk. To avoid being stopped at the gate, be mindful of what you share online, especially regarding your travels. Even a post that seems innocent at the time could be misinterpreted, so it's best to keep things light and avoid anything that could raise suspicion. Stay on the safe side. What you post today could determine whether or not you get on your flight. Reason number 10. Missing travel insurance. Protect yourself before you board. Let's move on to reason 10. Missing travel insurance. This is something that many travelers overlook, but it can be a deal breaker when it comes to boarding your flight. If you're traveling internationally, some countries require proof of travel insurance, particularly insurance that covers medical expenses. If you can't provide this proof, there's a good chance you won't be allowed to board. Why is this important? Well, if you're visiting a country where medical care could be expensive or hard to access, having insurance ensures you're covered in case of an emergency. Some countries are very strict about this, and without the proper documentation, airlines can deny you boarding since it's part of the entry requirements. Here's the solution. Always purchase travel insurance before you head abroad, and make sure your health coverage is valid for the country you're visiting. It's a small step that gives you peace of mind and keeps your travel plans intact. So don't wait until the last minute. Be proactive and stay protected. Reason number 11. Overweight or oversized luggage. Don't let your bags hold you back. Let's dive into reason number 11. Inadequate carry-on or luggage dimensions. You've packed everything you need, excited for the trip ahead, but then you get to the gate, and surprise, your luggage doesn't fit the airline's restrictions. This is something many travelers overlook, but it's a critical reason you might be denied boarding. If your carry-on or checked luggage exceeds the airline's size or weight restrictions, you might find yourself asked to step aside. Airlines can ask you to pay additional fees, or worse, if the situation is severe enough, you might not be allowed to board at all. It's not just about the inconvenience of paying extra. It's about avoiding last-minute panic when your bags don't fit. The key to preventing this? Familiarize yourself with your airline's luggage policies before you even start packing. Make sure you know the exact dimensions and weight limits for both carry-on and checked luggage. Double-check everything before you get to the airport to avoid unnecessary delays and stress. Reason number 12. Overbooking. Why airlines can deny you boarding. Let's talk about reason number 12. Overbooking. This one is frustrating, but something you should be aware of, especially when traveling during peak seasons or on popular routes. Airlines often overbook flights, expecting that some passengers won't show up. It's a tactic they use to maximize their profits, but if everyone shows up, it can lead to a serious problem. You might get bumped from the flight. When a flight is overbooked, airlines will often ask for volunteers to take a later flight in exchange for compensation or travel vouchers. But here's the kicker. If there aren't enough volunteers, you could be denied boarding involuntarily. It's not something you can predict, but it's important to know your rights and how to reduce the chances of it happening. The best way to avoid this situation is simple. Arrive early at the airport and make sure you check in online as soon as possible to secure your spot. If you're flying on a busy route, try choosing flights that are less likely to be overbooked, such as flights at off-peak times. Reason number 13, unpaid or disputed ticket fees. Don't let fees derail your trip. Now let's dive into reason number 13, unpaid or disputed ticket fees. It's a common issue that catches many travelers off guard. You've booked your flight, packed your bags, and you're ready to go, but then you get to the gate, and bam, you're denied boarding. Why? It could be because of unpaid fees or disputed charges related to your ticket. This happens more often than you'd think. Maybe you forgot to pay for your checked baggage, or there was an issue with your credit card payment when booking the flight. Even if you think you've covered everything, the airline might still find an outstanding fee or charge that prevents you from boarding. To avoid this, here's what you need to do. Before heading to the airport, double-check that all fees related to your ticket, including baggage fees or any extra charges, have been paid. Log into your booking account, review your payment status, and confirm that everything is settled. This simple step will save you a lot of stress and ensure you can board your flight without any surprises. Reason number 14, airline-specific health requirements. Be prepared for extra steps. Now let's talk about reason number 14, airline-specific requirements. And this one is especially important in today's travel landscape. Many airlines have specific health and safety requirements that you must meet before boarding. These can range from needing a negative COVID-19 test to providing proof of vaccination or even quarantine arrangements upon arrival. Even if you're not feeling sick, airlines can still refuse to board you if you don't meet these extra requirements. It might sound overwhelming, but with travel regulations constantly changing, airlines are under pressure to keep everyone on board safe and healthy. So, even if you feel perfectly fine, missing one of these requirements could keep you from getting on your flight. Here's how to avoid any issues. Always check the airline's website for any pre-flight health requirements before your trip. This could include things like showing proof of a recent negative test, providing documentation of vaccination, or having the right forms filled out. It's always better to be over-prepared than to be caught off guard at the airport. Reason number 15, one-way tickets. Why you might need extra proof of your travel plans. Let's wrap things up with reason number 15, unclear travel itinerary, and more specifically, the issues that can arise when you're traveling with a one-way ticket. Now, one-way tickets are pretty common for adventurous travelers or those heading off on long-term trips, but they can raise red flags at the airport. Why? Because the airline or immigration officer might question your intentions. If they can't verify that you plan to leave the country, they could deny you boarding. Airlines want to make sure you're not planning to overstay your visa, and without proof that you're leaving the country, they might be hesitant to let you board. Here's what you need to do to avoid this. If you're traveling on a one-way ticket, be ready to show evidence of your return trip or onward travel plans. This could be a return flight, a train ticket, or even a plan for when and how you'll leave the country. It's always a good idea to have this documentation ready, just in case you're asked to provide it. Final thoughts. How to ensure you don't get denied boarding. As we wrap up, let's remember that the key to smooth travels is preparation. By staying ahead of these common pitfalls and understanding the reasons why travelers are denied boarding, you'll be able to take on your journey with confidence. You'll know you've done everything you can to avoid those stressful situations at the gate. It's all about being proactive, whether it's checking your documents, staying on top of regulations, or planning ahead for the unexpected. With these strategies in your travel toolkit, you'll be ready for anything that comes your way. And most importantly, You'll enjoy your travels without the worry of being turned away at the gate. So take a deep breath, stay organized, and enjoy your adventures. Safe travels, and may your journey always be as smooth as your passport.